some other news that came out on Thursday night, Matt, and that was Patrice Bergeron. News from our friend Joey Mack that Joe McDonald reporting that Patrice Bergeron is likely to return to the Boston Bruins on a 1-year deal. A little bit surprising in the sense, Matt, that Patrice Bergeron really looked like someone towards the end of last season that was worn down, and in the playoffs, and the way that his teammates congratulated him and gave him hugs after they lost to the Carolina Hurricanes in Game 7, it sort of felt like everyone thought that this might be it, and he captures that fifth Selke trophy, and you go, okay, like pretty decent way to go out for a guy that's really done a whole lot of winning in his career. Still, obviously, a quite capable player in this league. But I think, Matt, maybe the big turning point here is that Bruce Cassidy is gone. They've made a coaching change. I've reported here before, and this seems to shock some people, given Bruce Cassidy's nature in the media, that I think a lot of Bruins players had they were tired of the act. He had worn thin on them. He was grinding on not just the young players, but also the older guys on the team. And I think maybe that change of pace now, even though we don't know who the next guy is, now that Bruce Cassidy's in Vegas, it maybe makes it a little bit easier for Patrice Bergeron to come back.
Yeah, it certainly sounds like it. And you're right. It seemed like there was such a finality when it came to that goodbye at the end of the season, very emotional. But to me, what's really interesting now is it changes the identity of the Boston Bruins going forward. If they still have their number one center, who was still playing at a very high level, arguably a lot of people thought this was the best season of his career. And looking at it now, I was someone I've been driving the Bruins for Bedard, the tanking bus, of course, because you have Charlie McAvoy, Brad Marchand, both having major surgeries, out 6+ months, going to start the season on LTIR. Same with Mike Riley, probably going to be out to start the season. Matt Grzelcyk as well. So I was thinking, okay, this is a season for Boston to take a step back. But now you have your top line center back in Patrice Bergeron. I think it makes the lineup a lot more deadly. Of course, Bergeron has such an impact at both ends of the ice. And what if, for example, David Krejci decides to come back across the pond and you have your top two centers back? Then maybe the Bruins are in a position where they can sort of survive until their veterans get healthy. Maybe they can actually run it back and be competitive one more season. So to me, it really changes the trajectory. And I wonder if it's going to affect the coaching hire as well.
Yeah, it's amazing. Those two things are kind of obviously incongruous. Like you were thinking, Bruins tank for Bedard, and then all of a sudden Bergeron comes back, and it's like, well, how quickly can we get Charlie McAvoy back? How quickly can we get Brad Marchand back? All of a sudden, you try and speed up the timeline on those injuries as much as you can, if at all possible, to be as competitive as you can to try and take advantage of another season from Patrice Bergeron. No confirmation just yet from the Boston Bruins, and probably no rush for Bergeron to sign his deal. He had said previously, Bruins are bust, Bruins are retire, essentially. So that's the situation, and quality information from our pal Joe McDonald there in the Boston area.